Jon Morosi, who joins us. JP, good morning. What should we be looking for tonight as Roki Sasaki makes his spring training debut on the mound?
Robert and Harold, good morning. We've been talking about this day for a long time. Roki Sasaki in Dodger blue this evening on the network, nationally televised. Can't wait for this. The key thing is, of course, as you mentioned, Yamamoto gets the start. And then Sonia Chen of MLB.com has reported that we're expected to see Sasaki go potentially 3 innings or so after Yamamoto starts. So perhaps Yamamoto around 4 innings and then Sasaki for 3. So this is going to be some amazing pitching for what could be, Robert and Harold, the 2 starting pitchers for the Dodgers later on this month in the Tokyo series. So the idea was the Dodgers want to make sure that they build up Sasaki to be able to start one of those 2 games. Broadly speaking, the expectation is Yamamoto gets game 1, Sasaki gets game 2 against the Cubs in Japan later on this month. The repertoire we know, dazzling. The velocity is up around 100 miles an hour when he's really in midseason form. I think we'll be curious to see, is he all the way there now or is he still in build-up mode? But this is going to be the first broad appearance that we've seen him make for the national TV audience here in North America since, of course, we saw him in the WBC and other settings. But in a Dodger uniform, guys, we cannot wait to see just how ready that arm is to eventually pitch against the Cubs in a couple weeks' time. It's going to be a big debut for him against the Reds this evening.
And I tell you what, JP, I hope he doesn't hit 100 today. I caution everybody.
Yeah.
Let him build up. And it's very similar to what I was talking about with Max Fried. You go to a new team, you go to the Yankees, you want to show everybody what you can do. Max Fried hit 97 last night. That's too soon for him to be hitting that high of a number. So health is hitting our game like never before, and it's because we're going, all right, you're throwing tonight. Come on, Sasaki. Relax, people. Yep. Let him build up, and then we get to Japan and end of the season. We want this guy healthy.
And JP, speaking of health, Sean Murphy. I mean, the Atlanta Braves, they dealt with all sorts of health issues last year. Now there's word after he got hit by a pitch on Friday, he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks with a fractured rib. What does this now do for the catching position for the Atlanta Braves right now? Because obviously Travis d'Arnaud is playing for the Angels.
Right. A very difficult news for the Atlanta Braves indeed, because Murphy had a year where last year he had some injuries too, and that is just a painful way for him to begin the season. As you point out, 4 to 6 weeks now with that rib injury that he sustained. And so more than likely on opening day, there is now a path for Drake Baldwin, here he is, to be the Braves' opening day catcher. 23 years of age. He played for Team USA at the Premier 12 in November. Had a chance to watch him there and speak with him. What an amazing young man, very mature, out of the state of Wisconsin. So Drake Baldwin, a lefty bat. And whenever you have a chance to talk about someone who's a young left-handed hitting catcher who's got a lot of poise behind the plate, these are very, very rare players. Someone who is a high school draft who's able to come up and play at that level already. So Drake Baldwin had some good international experience in November. I again, was very impressed by what I saw from Drake in that setting there playing for Team USA. So the Braves having to call on Drake Baldwin earlier than expected, but certainly at 23 years of age, a really good two-way player as a defender and as an offensive player. They're very comfortable with what they've got internally now with Drake Baldwin behind the plate.
Yeah, well, he's one of the top prospects. It'll be
he's the top prospect. But how difficult is it, H, as a young player at the catching position?
Well, he's
going to be catching Chris Sale today.
Yeah, because they throw so much information at you.
Yeah.
You know, that's the difference is being able to dissect all the information. But I think if there's one team that really would be good for him is the Braves.
Yeah.
They have a lot of veteran pitchers, and they have a pretty good idea what they're doing.
JP, a lot has been made at Blue Jays camp. Vlad Guerrero Jr. ready to enter free agency, no contract extension. The same is for Bo Bichette in that he enters his walk year after what was a very difficult season for him personally on the field. What should we expect, and what should we be looking for from Bichette in 25?
Robert, it looks like potentially that Bo is going to be the Blue Jays leadoff man in 2025. And I happen to think it's a great call for the Blue Jays. They entered this camp with a very fluid lineup 1 through 9, where John Schneider was saying he wasn't sure exactly how the different pieces would fit together. But it really does seem to line up nicely. And Harold talked about Trey as the leadoff man for the Phillies. If Bo can be the leadoff man for the Blue Jays, perhaps then you have Jimenez second, or depending on, you could also have Jimenez batting lower in the lineup. If you want to bump Vlad up to second, then you've got Santander, Springer in the 4th spot, Varsho coming back from injury too. So there are still some different spots to be decided here for the Toronto Blue Jays. But if Bo is Bo, I think a lot of questions will be answered for this Blue Jays team in the affirmative, because he can be the catalyst for this team. If you want to have Bo bat a little bit lower in the lineup, you can certainly do that. Maybe he's ending up protecting Santander or protecting Vlad. But if he's the leadoff man, I actually like the way that this lineup sets up, especially if George Springer ends up being more of a middle-of-the-order presence. Then I like the way that Bo lines up as the leadoff man for manager John Schneider in Toronto this season.
It's very similar to what we're talking about with the Phillies. If they make subtle moves, they can change that lineup and look like a whole different team.
Interesting.
You know, I think I would have, I don't know, I wouldn't necessarily go with Bo at leadoff. I'll leave it at that for now. Okay. I would have Jimenez if I'm going to do that, because now he's going to get pitches to hit. He's got Bo and Vladdy and all those guys behind him. It makes him as a better hitter. It just does.
Hey, JP, this time next year, we will be talking about the World Baseball Classic. But there's some qualifying games that are ongoing for many countries, and there were there were a couple of games yesterday. Take us through it.
Yeah, a big day in Tucson, Arizona. My favorite confrontation was a couple very famous names out there on the field. Agassi on the mound, Ramirez at the plate. Yes, Jaden Agassi, son of Andre Agassi and Steffi Graf, facing Lucas Ramirez, son of Manny Ramirez, wearing 24 but batting left-handed. And later on, a key run-scoring hit for Lucas there into the left field corner as Brazil opens up a 5-2 lead. Eric Pardino on the mound. He's the Blue Jays prospect, closing it out. Brazil getting their first win of this qualifier, 9-7 over Deutschland. Then in the nightcap, it is Colombia against China. Here is Harold Ramirez, formerly of the Rays, a run-scoring hit. Ramirez now playing for the Tecolotes de los Dos Laredos, right on the U.S.-Mexico border with the blue hair. I always love Harold, the way that he plays, and a great first name, of course. Harold, he has a key hit as now Colombia moves to 2-0 on MLB Network today. China and Brazil playing 1 p.m. Eastern time. Later on, Germany, Colombia. That game you can watch on MLB.com, because we'll be showing the Sasaki debut tonight against the Cincinnati Reds. Still now 2 full days to go, where we'll see, of course, this matchup tonight could eventually put Colombia straight into the field for the 2026 WBC, with potentially one more game to go. There will be one more game that decides the second bid. So 2 bids coming out of Tucson. Colombia in the driver's seat. You've got Brazil at 1-1, Germany at 1-1. If those results hold, perhaps that will be the matchup later on this week for the second of those 2 bids to round out the field for the 2026 World Baseball Classic.
Yeah, and as you can see, there's some WBC qualifying action on the network today. China and Brazil.
Hey, JP, what if
Eastern.
a player's playing in that, like Harold Ramirez? Could he get signed tomorrow or today, and be gone?
So that's a great question. Harold Ramirez has signed his contract to play in the Mexican League. So depending on what the clause of that contract says, perhaps, but he is committed to play in the Mexican League, which, by the way, the Mexican League, because there are, of course, fewer minor league affiliates now for the MLB teams, sources internationally keep telling me the Mexican League right now is at as high of a level as they have seen. So really good players coming out of the Mexican League that are on a lot of these teams qualifying, whether it's for the WBC right now or for next year's tournament too.
We were saying Harold Ramirez should be on a big league team.
No doubt.
I mean, that's just kind of what we think. Hey, JP, we appreciate the time, man. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.